Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us in today's session. My name is Krishna Vij. I head the Captives business at TeamLease Digital and will be moderating today's webinar. We have gathered today to discuss an interesting technology, low code, no code, which is evolving and maturing in India. We would also be discussing how these platforms are transforming businesses across industries and making it simple for both developers and non-developers to engage with code. At TeamLease Digital, we have done extensive research on how low-code, no-code is emerging as a strong dominance in the IT industry. Basis our research, we also understood the benefits that have been achieved by using these platforms. Most of the businesses have been able to come up with an application in less than 15 days using LCNC. This definitely is a proof for organizations that low-code, no-code is helping them solve the larger problem of productivity and cost. LCNC is just not beneficial for businesses. It has also opened up new avenues for bridging the gap between employment and employability. With this, if you have any questions during the webinar, please type them in your chat window. We would try to address maximum questions towards the end of the session. Before we start today's discussion, let me quickly introduce our esteemed panelists for today. Mr. Harsha Shetty, India Head Pre-Sales and Solution Architecture at Mendix, with over 19 years of experience in the IT industry. He has extensively worked in pre-sales, consulting, and advisory services. Harsha is a subject matter expert in LCNC and its associated market. Mr. Shaumak Roy, Vice President and Global Practice Leader, Cybersecurity, SDG Corporation. Shaumak has over 20 years of experience in cybersecurity leadership roles with preeminent technology organizations. He is an ardent developer and a seasoned practitioner in enterprise and consumer security. Mr. Sunil Chemankotal, CEO, TeamLease Digital, and board member of Indian Staffing Federation. He has over 25 years of experience in diverse industries and geographies, with over 15 years of experience in the staffing and recruitment industry, and working with a vision of putting India to work. A warm welcome to all of you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, I would like to invite Sunil to share his opening thoughts about our paper, its key takeaways, and how LCNC has the potential to be a game changer soon. Over to you, Sunil.
Yeah, thanks, Krishna, and thanks to our eminent panelists, who took time to come here and give their valuable inputs or thoughts about this new disruptive technology. So when we first heard at TeamLease, when we first heard this name few years back, so we were thinking about, will the customers quickly adopt that, and if they adopt, the next question is that talent, because we are here to supply talent, and a lot of preparations we have to do, because once the technology becomes prevalent, then you need people as of yesterday always in this industry. So we thought why not dive deep into this technology, understand what are the nuances of this skills and this technology, and prepare ourselves so that we will be able to be ready with the talent supply, so that we can support our customers. So the first and foremost understanding of this is, since I wanted to, we have a lot of registrations and a lot of participants who are not from this technology. So I thought, let me make it very simple. What is LCNC? So I would like to draw parallels with PowerPoint. So as salespeople and business people, we often use PowerPoint. So while I don't know how to build a PowerPoint, but I know how to use the PowerPoint or Excel, any Word document. I can use it as an application. I can come out with very inspiring and interesting presentations, while without knowing what goes behind the applications or the icons which we drag and drop into the PowerPoint and make it. It's as simple as that. So what I could understand is that low code, no code is a technology where you don't need to have coding skills. You just should have some basic developer one or two skills in the development, and then you can quickly learn, upskill yourself, and become a LCNC developer, and we call them LCNC citizen developer because you don't need to know the coding or developing of LCNC. So that's what we could understand. Now coming back to how big is this opportunity for the industry. So globally, it is expected to be 187 billion by 2030. And it's also anticipated that 65% of all development will happen through LCNC. So those are large numbers. And what is in it for India? So Indian market today is around 400 million, and it is expected to grow 10 times and go to 4 billion by 2025. So like any other technology, any other skill, India catches up very fast, so you can see that 10x growth will happen at an average 15% year on year. The reason is that, we have got talent, we have got huge amount of talent no other country in the world has, and we can quickly adopt to any new technology because we have got basic understanding or basic qualification in place. How is this technology going to help the corporates? It's going to roughly bring down the time taken to develop or deploy by seven times. It's going to bring down 7 times the time taken, and by 3 times the cost of development, and it's going to increase the productivity by 1.5 times, and it is going to give you 30% more return on investment. So that's what is in store for the corporates if they adopt the low code no code. That definitely the reasons why they will adopt quickly. And for the job seekers, what should they be ready with? So typically we have seen that 70% of the skilled people can quickly adopt to LCNC in 2 months and 2 to 3 months, and out of which around 30% can actually catch up in 2 weeks of upskilling. They need to have a basic experience or basic knowledge of some 1 or 2 programming language. That's the basic requirement. So which means that this technology is going to free lot of talent who need not all do coding. They can do development, be citizen developer, and the other skill set can work on coding. So that's by and large our understanding. And if you look at the total open positions which we have in the market, there are close to 9,500 open positions already available in the market. So let's dive deep and understand from our panelists more details about this technology, both from the corporate side as well as from the job seeker side. Thanks, Krishna.
Thank you, Sunil, for sharing your thoughts and also highlighting what has been laid behind our research. And you've also touched upon 2 great aspects, one from the job point of view and one from the business's point of view. I feel businesses are becoming more agile in transforming their strategies and driving higher productivity with LCNC technologies. So I think my next question, and for the interest of our audience, would be for Harsha. Harsha, since this topic is very close to you and you work in this space, we would like you to talk about what LCNC platforms are and how it is different from the traditional application development. And if you could also name what are these platforms that are currently available as an option.
Thank you, Krishna. A big hi to all of the attendees of the webinar. Well, for all the benefit of all the participants in the webinar, you need to understand that this particular market of low code, no code is quite cluttered. You also need to understand which platform is beneficial for you to learn. For that, you need to understand the landscape, which in our terminology, we call competitive landscape, in the sense, who are the people in this space, okay? Low code is not the same as no code. They are actually 2 different kinds of platforms. First, let's talk about no code. There are platforms, mostly SaaS offerings, which actually give you the ability of developing quick and dirty small applications, and they would have most of the things ready-made, ready templates, ready snippets, quick and reusable workflows, all of them ready-made. Okay, that makes the life of the developer that much easier. When you actually give so many things ready-made, it also has a drawback that it becomes inflexible at some point of time. Now that's where low code actually comes in. Low code bridges this gap by giving all the goodness of no code, but also the ability to build complex business logic, enriched user interfaces, complex workflow systems. You can customize and integrate with multiple backend systems. So when it comes to low code, it's more or less a like-for-like replacement of a conventional app development technology like a Java or a .NET, okay, or a React or PHP, whatever you would be working on for developing your applications. That is about the landscape. Who are the players right now in the market? For no code, you have actually lots and lots of players, boutique shops, everybody developing such platforms because it's a SaaS offering, could be used by non-developers. IT doesn't have to make, IT of an organization or an enterprise doesn't have to make a investment in buying such platforms from central IT budget. So it's easy for businesses to buy something of their own. So when that happens, there are players like there's Kissflow, Microsoft Power Apps, there is Zoho. All of these are no-code players. A lot of them call themselves low-code because everybody wants to be in the low-code market because that's where more money is. But again, there's no clear demarcation of which is no-code, which is low-code, because some of the people have features which qualify as low-code and some of them don't. Coming to the low-code itself, again, there are different kinds of players. There are players who have been from the past have been BPM players. BPM in the sense business process management, building workflows in the enterprises. Workflows are pretty much anything related to triggering a request. In a bank, say for example, you apply for a loan, it goes through a workflow system for your loan to be approved. Developing that particular workflows in the enterprise actually are done with BPM players. Those BPM kind of platforms also have evolved into low-code, no-code because it's an easier way of actually defining these workflows. There are certain other infrastructure players, Salesforce.com, ServiceNow. All of these essentially provide low-code, no-code platforms, allow these platforms to consume those core elements of either ServiceNow or Salesforce or probably any of those infrastructure elements and build the applications faster. Okay, there are pure play low-code platforms like Mendix, where I belong to right now, and also a company like OutSystems. There is Web Modeler, Betty Blocks, lots of companies in the low-code space. So this is the entire landscape right now for the low-code, no-code platforms.
Thanks, Harsha, for throwing so much light on the low code, no code, and how different it is and how the workflows are defined. I think this gives a lot of perspective, and you've touched upon the subject so beautifully. I would also like to ask a similar question to Somak as well. Somak, while IT organizations depend heavily on their own developers for application development, so now with these LCNC platforms, this can be done in a cost-effective manner with limited coding experience. Now, do you think, will this replace the traditional application developers? What's your thought on this?
That's an interesting question. Hello, everyone. Well, Harsha very nicely explained, LCNC and what's the difference between LC and NC. And that apparently makes us believe that, of course, that's the future. And, we should probably get into that direction, which I fully agree, like the industry. But, I think for the next few years, we'll continue to have LCNC mature and evolve. It is maturing, it is evolving, it is going to continue. And during this time, we'll continue to have the traditional developers very much, with us, specifically to address the complex application development need where LCNC may not, be very well suited. It does have capability, but probably, with time, it is going to evolve. That's number one. And I'm confident with time, it is going to gain momentum and significantly replace the traditional application development approach that we follow today. And this has been happening, for generations. If you go back to history, just like touching about the history in the 90s, we started to have this fourth generation language, and that's when I started to get into computers and software development. We saw the faster programming language evolving. We saw C, Basic, Fortran, COBOL. While assembly language was there, assembly language was more complex than this generation of fourth generation language. And the journey didn't stop there; it continued. Then we have Python. Now Python is supposed to be considered as a low code in comparison to C++, and it goes on. So the crux is the evolution continues, and traditional developers of their time have to adapt to these changes. So yes, we have to be ready and be prepared for LCNC platforms and welcome them.
Great, Somak. Thank you so much for these thoughts. I think you've put in very beautifully with respect to evolution of technology and how we need to be tech ready with respect to the new technologies which are coming up into the market. Your conversation has led to a very important discussion point, and I'd like to put this question to Harsha. Harsha, today low-code, no-code tools promises to do everything from solving the developer scarcity crisis to empowering the business to develop application. So in this space of LCNC, we would like to hear from you how enterprises are leveraging LCNC platforms.
Well, this question, of course, I can answer, but mostly it would be applicable for enterprises who think that everything could be done on low-code, no-code. Now, the answer is not, right? There are a few kinds of applications you should never venture in developing on low-code, no-code platform. Let me give you some examples. You want to develop an app which actually does ETL kind of functions, extract, transform, load, compute certain data, process some data, more headless kind of applications, not a fit on the low-code, no-code. If you want to build probably an analytics kind of a platform, low-code, no-code is not the right choice. If you want to build RPA, I'm sorry, just a second. I just need to.
So while we'll have Harsha back on the discussion, I would like to bring upon Sunil, and we will go back to the question back to Harsha again on understanding how businesses are leveraging LCNC platforms. Sunil, I would like to hear from you because specifically on the report. Our report talks about the current macroeconomic climate and how it has tightened financial constraints for enterprises everywhere. Now, companies are seeking more cost-effective methods like LCNC. I would like you to share your thoughts on the same.
See, there are two ways of looking at this entire technology. So one is it going to reduce the cost? Yes, at least the technology promises that, it's going to bring down the cost by 3x. So definitely a advantage in a market like this where, cash flow is tightening and, margin pressure is very high. That's from the, and also ROI point of view, it is at least 30% more. So that's one side. And from the talent supply side, it will help us. It will help the talent pipeline to be freed, to some extent. Everybody need not be hired as developers, or everybody need not put their brains only in the coding aspect. So there are some readily available tools which can be used. But like how Harsha was explaining that, a very true low code and no code, while it is taken together, these are two different, slightly different thing, like Dew and Daman. While we take it as Dew and Daman, but Dew and Daman, if you are to practically travel, you take more than 12 hours to reach from Dew to Daman. I practically traveled after hearing about Dew and Daman in my childhood. When I actually wanted to travel, it took 12 hours for me. So that's where it stands. But I think overall, we are very excited because one, organizations can improve their margins. Anything which can improve margins is welcome. And for talent suppliers like us, this gives a new hope that, we can also utilize some of the non-native IT coders to be put to this, maybe through some amount of upskilling or reskilling. And obviously, information technology industry pays better wages than other industries, and we need a lot of people, because if India has to become a digital talent hub, a force to reckon, and this is our best bet. Technology is our best bet. So we have already seen that all the disruptive technologies have made us a name to be recognized across the globe, and I think this is another phase which will help us. That's my view.
Great, Sunil. I think that was quite helpful for our participants to also gauge through. I'd also like Somak to also help us understand specifically from the industry point of view. Somak, we've been reading across a lot of platforms and a lot of industry reports that 70% of the applications which are currently developed will be developed using low-code, no-code platforms by 2025. We are also seeing that many enterprises are adapting LCNC. So what, according to you, are driving, or maybe the key drivers for our businesses, which are actually helping businesses to choose LCNC than the traditional way of developing apps?
Sure. So Krishna, I think you partially answered this in your opening, statement, where you mentioned the positivities of LCNC, and that's what is promoting the adoption of this technology. We see a massive and rapid digital transformation globally undertaken by organizations, of various scales and nature. And thanks to the pandemic, it fueled this adoption of digital technology. It's great to live in a digital world, but then the bitter truth is that there's a limited skill set, which we have been talking, and that's where I think there is a crisis that the industry is facing. And crisis leads to innovation, right? So suddenly people started turning their head towards, hey, we have a LCNC platform, right? Let's look at this. And that's what is actually fueling and really expanding the adoption of such technology, I should say. That's a prime factor. And if you have to talk about the strategic initiative of the organizations, I see them in two different categories. One is a strategic initiative, one is tactical. Mostly the strategic transformation that the organization adopt, they still prefer to continue with the traditional approach of development, at least till date. But for tactical, organizations are very much open to use LCNC based platforms where they can use the citizen developers to do the job quickly, provide quick benefit to the experience to the customers and the end users. So there's a pressing need to automate the internal process, maintain business agility, and the company needs to automate the workflow form generations, which Harsha was touching upon, data retrieval, database driven functional apps, and many more. The use case is unlimited practically. So summing it up, I can say quick development, immediate return on investment, easier maintenance because mostly they're cloud based, scalability, and reduced risk as long as we have a trusted cloud based service provider are some of the key drivers for organizations to move to this LCNC based platform.
Great, Somak. I think you've touched upon some great key takeaways and key points, how LCNC is inching towards becoming a disruptive platform by innovating customer experiences and improving a lot of business processes across enterprises. I think I would like to understand a few questions from a job seeker point of view. And my first question will be for you, Harsha. So Harsha, with the rising popularity of these platforms, and it has opened up new avenues for budding and amateur developers. Now, programming experience may not be as crucial in the future as LCNC technologies are automating the process of creating these applications. So do you think that this will address the talent supply shortage, which is currently there in the current scenario? Would like to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, all the trends in the market suggest that it does. I am ex-Gartner, so I'm not a big fan of numbers like 20, 25, 75% of people. I don't believe in numbers because it can go either way, but it indicates a general trend that it is going to increase, right? It's good news. Now, the question is one interesting thing. You asked, whether it automates a lot of things. Will it cut down jobs or will it create more jobs? The point is, when we had internet so slow in the early 2000s, we used to browse very less websites and for a very less amount of time. As and when the internet speed increased, it didn't mean that we finished our browsing faster. We started browsing more, right? So in the similar way, if you give a tool, a platform, or a solution to an enterprise to develop applications faster, they are bound to churn out more and more applications. Okay. Now, the kind of use cases, I'm sorry, I just I missed on your last point and I had to address a phone call because I'm taking this from a Chennai hotel room and I'm really sorry about that. But anyway, to address on the use cases front, so a lot of serious applications are getting built on the no-code, low-code platform as well as the much smaller workflows and single pager applications, etc. Many of the processes which are right now paper-based, being carried out in Excel sheets, either manual form filling exercises in the enterprises, everything getting automated these days. Other applications, probably customer-facing applications for a bank or a financial institution, or probably some e-commerce portal, all of them, they are exploring low-code, no-code as a viable option for developing applications. That's where companies like yourself and also all the biggies in India, the Infosys, TCS, Capgemini, Cognizant, everybody that you talk about has low-code, no-code practice. They have tons and tons of developers churning out, cross-skilling, upskilling them to actually get into this particular space as well. So the trend is good. A lot of people are investing. Developers are actually coming in. It will definitely generate more and more opportunities for people coming in and developing applications.
Thanks, Harsha. This also brings in a lot of inquisitiveness to ask you one more question, and which is related to the answers that you have given. Would like to also understand, is low-code software really hard to learn? It is in the interest of the audience that we have today, and this is something that I would also like you to answer, like how difficult these applications are to be learned, and how much time typically does it take for any or a citizen developer or non-developer to understand and adapt this technology?
Well, if somebody says, you can just do it in a few days' time, probably they're lying, because it's a technology and you need to spend time in learning this. There is a learning curve in any platform which you take. The degree of learning curve for no-code platforms actually is lesser as against the low-code platforms, because low-code platforms essentially are more mature and can address complex use cases. What makes sense for budding developers to learn? I would recommend learn the low-code platform because it has a longer future and you can get into projects which actually run for a pretty long time. Okay. Now, having said that, what is the actual period? The degree of the actual learning exercise can be stepwise, right? You cannot be an expert in a platform from day one. You can start your journey. Probably in a week or two, you will get comfortable with the platform. You will be able to develop applications which are probably small in nature, and that will allow just for you to build some POCs on your own. You can also put on your resume that you've started developing and this is your initial expertise on the platform. So you exactly know how this platform works. Now, as a second step, you enter into an intermediate phase where you do develop applications, but you will not be in a situation that you will be a solution architect or you will be delivering the project as a project lead on your own.
Okay. I have one doubt, if I may interrupt, Harsha. You were speaking about low code platforms and no code platforms. For the interest of the audiences, if you can give few examples of the platforms which are low code and which are no code. Obviously we have covered most of that in the report, but since there are a lot of people waiting to hear that, maybe if you can give something.
Well, let me market my company a little bit. Please go ahead and learn Mendix. Mendix is a low-code platform. And Mendix allows you to do all the self-service learnings. In fact, most of these premier platforms in the market provide free of cost self-service, self-paced trainings on their platforms. They can actually start developing on their own from their own home computer. Okay. There will be an IDE probably either to be downloaded onto your desktop, or there would be a web-based IDE that you can start developing through your browser. Okay. And having said that, go to mendix.com, fill up a small form. Development is absolutely free of cost. There's no money or fee for it. And there's tons of requirements in the market. I go to a lot of customers. Everybody asks me for the Mendix resources because we have been growing in the market. I know how much we are selling in the market, what demand it is generating. So I can actually give you the ground level fact that there is a huge demand for Mendix developers. Okay. And so would be for others as well, because everybody is investing in this technology and selling in the Indian market. And of course, the global market is already matured as compared to India. So the global demand is always there. Outsourcing to India is not a new thing, right? So anybody building businesses outside India would love to outsource their IT and tech stacks to India, right? So that's how it is going to be.
In no code, what are the examples of platforms in no code?
So no code, you come across Kissflow, Zoho Creator. You will come across a local company I've heard, Wavemaker. So these are all some of the no code examples that you get. Power Apps also I qualify as no code. They are a big time competitor to us, backed by Microsoft, the biggie. But they claim themselves to be low code. I don't want to generate controversies on this in this call, but anyway, that's just my own personal perspective, nothing to do with my company's opinion on that. However, having said that, there are again tons of boutique players. I said, if you just go search for no code tools, you will see tons of them. Just go to g2.com, you will see a lot of them. Again, G2 is again the one which categorizes these platforms out there in the market.
Great insights. I think these, I think most of us are already messaging that they want to know about the names. So I think a lot of people may not want to read the report immediately, so they would want to hear. And I think you have answered their queries. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Harsha. I would like to move on to a little different from the platform and the job seeker point of view. We'd like to understand from Somak, because you work on this space specifically to the cybersecurity and the risk point of view. So Somak, in the current environment where privacy, data, security is of utmost importance, where most of the organizations and governments are talking about it. So how secure do you think these platforms are? While there is so much of thing going on about adapting these platforms, so do you think the risk element is being taken care of? And what is your thought on the security point of view when it comes to adapting these platforms?
Well, security is definitely an important aspect, LCNC platforms bring in a lot of security concerns to organizations, and we need to really carefully think and plan the security aspect if we decide to use LCNC, right? So because of time constraint, I can go on this security topic, on what are the security concerns, but probably I'll pick up the top 3 concerns I've seen specifically from LCNC platform users. The one that tops everything is the governance. The second one is the visibility with the platform, and the third one I should say the growth of shadow. Yeah. So let's take them one by one. Talking about the governance, it's perhaps, like I said, the most significant challenge for all the low-code users, and they're concerned with it. Many useful low-code, no-code applications rely on storing data either in the managed storage provided by the platform in the cloud, or in some other platform via the connectors. And practically, the user doesn't have a strong control on those data in the cloud. Compliance enforcement is a difficult problem because you are not owning the cloud is owned by someone else, and you are just being offered drag and drop kind of UI where you have minimalistic approach to develop applications. So you don't have a complete control of the underlying code. And we spoke about citizen developers. They only understand drag and drop. There's a massive deal of code that's beneath the surface, right, which is not visible to them, and they doesn't realize or has a importance of what will happen if something is not secure over there. And that's why I agree with Harsha. He said that we need to have some degree of knowledge, of coding. We don't have to be a hardcore developers, but knowledge of coding definitely adds to someone who is moving to a role of specifically low code, if not no code. Some no code products, I have seen and I've used myself, which are entirely on cloud, which means the database that we create is also on the cloud, again, beyond your control. This really concerns to me as well as a user. Next is the visibility, which I picked as a second concern. Using a platform that was developed by some third party, external party, always has a visibility concern. And you are consuming the software, and therefore you don't know about the source code. What are the source codes that are getting written automatically with the drag and drop? Are there any vulnerabilities? What is the potential level of testing that the third party or the vendor is doing? What is the rigor of the platform that the platform has undergone? Can it withstand certain attacks? So people are concerned about this aspect. And the last one I spoke about is shadow IT, right? Growth of shadow IT. Shadow IT is unaccounted, untracked, applications which are not as a part of maintenance, part of your asset inventory. They pop up everywhere. Why do they pop up? Because we engage citizen developers, and they can develop such kind of quick automations on the fly, right, based on the business needs. In few days to few weeks, if it's pretty simple, right? And we may not be able to track it. Being a security professional, getting visibility and knowing the entire IT landscape is very, very important for me to restrict any blind spot which might induce any kind of threats to my landscape. And that is where I think the ease of development actually slightly negates that aspect. And but these are not that these are showstoppers, these are concerns, and there is always way to work out these concerns. We need to have a centralized governance and centralized process to overcome this kind of challenges. That's very, very important. And in fact, I think it's time for us to for organizations to rather define targeted security framework defined exclusively for LCNC platforms, where they are strongly adopting internally and promoting this within their user base. Again, I spoke about vendors slightly, and we should be careful when we are buying this software, because again, we have to trust them, trust their cloud, trust their code. So we should look out for third-party certifications. Ask those vendors that which of the certifications you carry, IS 27001, GDPR. If it is a banking, then PCI. Whatever the requirement is, just come up with the requirement and ask for the certifications. So I think these are some of the basic hygienes that we need to follow. It's end of the day, it's a culture that has to be built, because the citizen developers are not security professionals, and neither they're developers, right? So they may not understand the implication their development effort can bring into the organization. And that's where I think culturally we have to sensitize the users of this platform on the security aspect. So, like I said, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And if this is true, then it's applicable for the citizen developers also. Need to be careful.
Thanks so much, Shaumak. You put it very beautifully, and also it gives a little bit of perspective. I would say quite a lot of perspective in terms of understanding that even if these are plug and play platforms, it comes with its own pros and cons, but with the security element. And like you clearly mentioned, with a definite framework, all this can be easily mitigated by businesses associated with LCNC. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, just to add to that, Krishna, and Shaumak reminds me of all the chief security officers we have to pass through to basically get our platforms through to the customers. Anyway, so we are all scared of such profiles in the enterprise. Anyway, just to give the perspective, what does it even have to matter to the people on the webinar right now who are aspiring to basically learn? Most of the platforms have infra, security, and certain other aspects related to these governance covered on their platforms. The intention of many of these platforms is to make the life easier for developers and make developers only focus on app development. Okay, rest of the things are either taken care in the framework, or probably there is an infra scenario separate out there, which developers don't have to worry about. So just a word of respite for all the budding developers out there.
Great, thanks, Harsha. I'd also like to put a question to Sunil right now, because specifically there's a lot of message going on as in why there is a lot of visibility for non-developers to pick up this skill and technology. I'd like Sunil to talk about, especially for the young talent, to the job seekers, as why learning low code, no code can be a great way to upskill and advance their career.
See, traditionally we have seen that IT industry, if you look at 0.8% of the labor force contributes to 8% of the GDP, and this is the fastest growing industry with such a large youth talent available. And our ancestors have done something good, that they have pushed a lot of us to take up engineering, and we have a lot of engineers. We have 1.5 million engineers passing out every year, and fortunately or unfortunately only 25% of them get into IT industry, which is roughly around 4 lakhs. Balance either are not employable, because there is a gap between employment and employability because of the difference in the curriculum. What curriculum they learn in the colleges and what industry requires, there is a gap. I think with the change in the with the launch of national education policy, it is going to have a collaboration between industry, academia, and government, and that's going to get sorted out. But what is the immediate ask for the candidates who have missed the bus, who are not part of that 4 lakh which got hired in IT, is that this is another source of employment. With this technology evolving, while I heard Harsha being a little cautious and Saumak being very positive about that, it's absolutely right. It's a mixed feeling at this point of time, but there is at least we can prepare ourselves to be worthy to get a job in this sector. If you can upskill yourself and be ready. You just need some basic programming knowledge, 1 or 2 maybe C++ or Java, and then there are a lot of platforms available. I think Harsha has mentioned this company Mendy. Since he is here, I can talk about that. You can learn few of the low code or no code kind of a thing, and then you can be ready and you can apply for it, and then you can get jobs. So I guess that to a larger portion of the talent who are not very logical, or who don't want to become write codes, or who can't write codes, I think, but still want to get into technology industry, this is an opportunity. Apart from the network support and other areas, I think this also opens up another area for them. So that's my understanding, and that's why this opportunity or this technology brings a lot of hope to talent supply organizations like TeamLease Digital, because we feel that we will be able to put more people to work, and our larger team of putting India to work with such a huge talent available already. It's just matter of making them employable and deploying them. I think that's quite possible with this.
Thanks so much, Sunil, and also citing out the vision of putting India to work, and plus how employment and employability can complement each other. Having said that, I want to put another question to Harsha, because this is linked to what you have just said. Harsha also spoke about the various platforms which are available. Now we are seeing a lot of investments, a lot of edtech startups edtechs are also investing very heavily with respect to learning a lot of technologies in the market. Now, Harsha, if you could also let us know, are there any particular institutes, specifically the edtech firms? If you could also like to call out few of them, and plus, what are the basic skills that are generally required so that somebody can quickly adapt to this technology and learn the LCNC platform?
Well, I can't talk about edtech platforms out there, but everybody, most of the big ones, like any of these Udemy or anything, everybody has courses on all of these platforms. So people have been free to record their expertise and training and, you know, impart trainings on all of these big platforms. First of all, the person has to make a choice of what he wants to learn, right? So as I said, low code is the best way. Go for Mendix. If you even go for Mendix, choose your platform where you want to learn. It could either be from such a tech platform, or it could even be go to mendix.com, sign up, trainings are free, development is absolutely free. There's no trial access, restricted access, etc. So you can, from day one, build all your apps on Mendix absolutely free of cost. Okay, so that gives a perspective on you know, where you can start learning on the platform itself. What was the other question again?
Basically, what are the skills? For example, somebody is a very civil developer. So what are the skills typically?
Right.
Let's say, yeah.
Now, let me break a myth here. There is absolutely, I mean, mandatorily, there is no requirement or a prerequisite for somebody to become a developer on low code, no code. Okay, the reason is not something else. It's because of how these platforms are built. They are technologies on their own. Okay, for you to learn German, right? There's no prerequisite for you. You just need to learn German. That's it. So, like the way, whether me knowing .NET, me
You just
knowing
need the
Java,
interest.
you just need the interest. So
Yeah.
whether I know Java, whether I don't know .NET, doesn't qualify you to be a better developer from anyway day one, but you will know little concepts, like you will know what is a page that you develop, how security is handled, how you do integrations, what is API, what is a table, what is a database. So you will know those basic concepts. But I still feel I actually I have a POC team with some of the developers. Almost all of them are freshers. Okay, and they've spent probably 6-8 months on the platform. They only know Mendix. They have not learned anything else out of the college, and they are actually pros. All right, and I think it's quite easy for anybody to start learning these platforms. I would say they will anyway make a leap directly into low code, as against your previous 4 or 5 year seniors who have started learning the coding first, and then now they'll make a shift to low code, no code. So you're doing a jump directly right now. Okay, that's an advantage that you would actually get. All right. So no skills required. Anybody can develop, just have the interest and right material and the right platform that you choose to learn. Just invest your time on it.
Thank you, Harsha, for your detailed giving us a detailed understanding of how anyone can adapt low code, no code technology and learn. While with this, we have come towards an interesting part of the webinar where we would like to take up questions from our participants. We already have many questions and interesting questions flowing in. Though we have already covered a couple of questions during the webinar, let me pick a few unanswered aspects of LCNC. So my first question is for you, Somak. The question for you is, if in case a business is looking for deciding what LCNC platform to take up, how can a business decide which one is best suited for them?
That's a really tough and tricky question. There is no single answer, which platform pick up. Specifically, Harsha here, I have to name his company.
please go ahead and learn Mendix. You will not be disappointed.
Okay. Now coming back to the question, of course, I feel, when we pick up our LCNC platform or we evaluate, we always look at the credibility of the organization, because from what is that the company has been doing, and there are a lot of budding startups that are venturing into this area, and and they are extremely good. But it depends on the appetite of the company, what kind of risks they can tolerate, right? There are organizations who always want to go with established, well-known brands like that of Harsha, and there are companies who like to work with the startups and the budding entrepreneurs, right? So that depends on risk variance, right? But the important aspect which I covered in the previous point on security aspect is we should always work with a trusted, branded organization, because of the security of our data, security of our reputation, security of our brand. This all will be in the hand of the LCNC platform provider, right? So that has to be carefully considered. And of course, next is what is the purpose, right? If the purpose is we have to work out or we need slightly complex business logics, we need slightly complex analytics to be built in. And just to add on, nowadays LCNC also offers you AI and ML at your fingertips, so you don't need to learn artificial intelligence, machine learning. And if you know LCNC, then you can probably touch those aspects also while you are developing a software. So what are the functional requirements that has to be clearly identified, and then you need to qualify which vendor is offering this kind of functionality, and then the security. So blend of all this will help you decide which company to work with.
Thanks, Shomak. You've answered very briefly on the question that has been put across. I have one question for Harsha, and we're getting a lot of questions specifically on non-coders trying to understand, and plus this is typically coming in from the coders. So what is the future of coders with LCNC platforms taking over?
Look, for coders, as I said, it's like a faster internet. Now, coders essentially have in their roadmap, how do they add value to their resume, right? They need to upskill into specific areas which they want to grow. I mean, if at all they want to grow, either they learn an RPA platform, they learn analytics, they learn probably cloud or DevOps or certain segments like that. One major segment for them would be to learn low-code, no-code platform. Okay. When the projects come in their organization, if they're actually not equipped on the platform, somebody else knowing the platform better than them will anyway take over.
Yeah.
Right. So it is important for even the coders also to upskill themselves. It doesn't take more than 2 months or 3 months for you to be a champion in the product. Okay. So look for any such options. You can also contribute in terms of whether your enterprise is evaluating some platforms. You can contribute in terms of giving your inputs to your IT and CIO organizations in terms of which is better, which is not. So be more of a thought leader in your organization. Take up this as a new technological kick that you want to derive for your future learnings, and start learning this platform.
I think there is also an other side of the question to you, Harsha. I saw some questions. Somebody asked, how will this help freshers? So
Freshers, I think it's absolute boon for freshers. As I said, live examples, not just my team here who does POCs, all of the enterprises where the adoption of a low-code, no-code has happened is about these small teams built with one senior developer with having more experience on the low-code, no-code platforms. In and around that experienced guy, there are either 30% of the team is full of freshers, 30-40%. Rest of them are junior developers with 1-2 years experience. Okay. So for freshers, I think you should definitely give it a thought. Now, don't take your resume to a company and say, I am ready to learn no-code, low-code, no-code, and hire me. You first learn, because it's a lot of material and a lot of expertise available on the open web. Learn a few things yourself, put it in your resume. Okay. Once you put it in your resume as somebody who knows such a technology, then take your profile to the company and say, I know a little bit of this.
And are there any specific courses available? Because to get an orientation of this, one is self-learning, as you suggested. Are there the edtech companies or any physical companies?
There are a lot of training institutes. I don't remember the names offhand. There are plenty of them, not just these somebody who gives classroom trainings, but also there are these edtech which Krishna was talking about. So there is a lot of things available in the market out there. I can probably do a little bit of research and I'll put it on my LinkedIn post on who are actually doing this, so for the benefit of the users.
Great.
Thank you so much, Harsha, for giving us such an insight on the overall platform, and plus also adding up your thoughts as from the job seeker point of view as well. I think thank you all for the questions, participants, because we've tried to cover maximum questions with Harsha, Shaumak, and Sunil. I would now like to invite Sunil to share his concluding thoughts on today's session.
I think overall, I would say it was a very interesting discussion. We touched upon all aspects, present, future, as well as on the cautious approach, how it is going to look like, and optimistic approach, how it is going to look at this. And also, it's just not for the corporates, for the job seekers also, as you know, all our panelists have mentioned that it's a great opportunity to upskill themselves. I think there are a lot of requirements, as I gave in my opening remark. There are 9,500 requirements already available, and these requirements will continue to increase. So I think sooner the better. You guys should look at what are the skills, do some research. There are training institutes where you can learn yourself and be part of this 4 billion opportunity in India, and 190 billion opportunity world over, who are looking to go abroad. So it's important for all of us to be interested and intrigued about this technology and learn about this. And if any of you want to get more details about this, you can go to our website www.teamleasedigital.com and download the report, enter basic details about you and yourself, and download this report and go through it. The attempt from TeamLease Digital has been to give an overview about this technology and how both from the corporate side as well as from the job seeker side. We are not claiming that this is a detailed research paper. Like all of you, we are also learning about this, and we are not industry experts. We are like a waiter in the restaurant. We are not the chef. So we try to connect the technology and talent, and that's been our effort. And we are sure that if you have more questions about this, we have our panelists whom you can reach through LinkedIn, or you can also write to us. We will try to answer all your questions and help you to build a career. Ultimately, we are very happy if we can put you into job, like the larger theme of putting India to work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sunil. And thank you everyone for an insightful session on this topic. I'm sure that there is more to know about these platforms and how effective they are in application development. This topic is quite elaborate for all of us to cover in one session. We will try to come up with more such discussions soon. As Sunil has rightly mentioned, you can easily download our paper from our website and know more about LCNC platforms. It was a pleasure having you with us today, Harsha, Shaumak, and Sunil. Thanks, everyone. We hope you all have enjoyed the session.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a good day ahead. Thank you so much.
All the best.